Hi, this is Tim Cant for Native Instruments, and in this video I'm going to show you how to make a lo-fi house track using Super 8 and a few Native Instruments effects. Super 8 is a retro-style polysynth designed to give you warm analog-esque tones, and despite its flexibility, it has a straightforward interface that's a lot of fun to program. Usually I begin creating a track with drum elements, typically a kick drum, but in the case of lo-fi house, I was keen to get the atmosphere sounding right before I worked on the drums. I selected the fanfare brass pad to start with. This was a bit full sounding for what I wanted, so I turned down the filter cutoff and tightened up the filter envelope. I increased the pitch modulation on oscillator 1 to make it more lo-fi sounding, applied the synth's built-in flanger effect, and increased the amount of built-in reverb. I also used Native Instruments' passive EQ to take out some of the lows to give us room for a bass sound. I used the modified fanfare preset to play a simple 2-chord pattern that the rest of the track could be based on. Next I used the super clap, simple crack and hi-hat presets in the drums folder to compose a simple drum beat. To give these sounds a more atmospheric feel, I used RC48 and Replica XT for send reverb and delay respectively. I needed a kick for my beat, and I wanted a good amount of control over it, so I made my own kick with Super 8. This was simple to do. Starting with the initial patch, I turned down the saw levels, turned up the sine level for oscillator 1, then used the filter envelope to modulate its pitch, giving the envelope a short decay time to give me a quick punchy kick. I turned up the release on the amplitude envelope a touch to give the note offstage a natural feel, and turned up the filter character to maximum to beef up the sound. To give the kick a grittier feel, I applied Native Instruments Bite and turned the jitter, crunch and dither controls up to give me a lo-fi feel, and also reduced the bit depth and sample rate. I wanted to add a bit of lo-fi house authenticity, so I sourced 909 Open Hat and Ride samples from sounds.com. These were Hat Open 909 Bass House from the Bass House Kit library, and Ride 0602 from Analog TR 909. I used Bite to add some crunch to the open hat, but left the ride clean. To glue the drum sounds as a whole, I routed all the drums to a bus and used NI's solid bus compressor to compress them. I also added jitter, crunch and saturation with Bite, then applied a little more saturation with Dirt. Next it's time for bass. The Slippy preset in the bass folder seemed like a good starting point. I turned unison mode on to thicken it up and tweaked the filter envelope and mount knob in the filter section to get the right amount of brightness. I applied another instance of Bite, this time reducing the bit depth to 8 and the sample rate to 22.1 kHz to get an old school sampler style feel. I also applied reverb and delay from the sends. The track definitely needed some more musical elements, so I used the Shady Woods pad preset as a pseudo string, turning up the attack level of the amplitude envelope to prevent it from coming in too abruptly. I also created a simple percussive lead sound from scratch using a single pulse oscillator with a quickly closing low-pass filter. I used unison mode again for this, though I stuck at 2 voices because I didn't want it to have too glossy a sound. For transitional effects, I used 2 patches from the FX menu, a white noise sweep in the form of pan sweep, and an FM-based evolving sweep called Slime Down. To ensure that the track's kick punches through the mix, I put the musical and FX elements on their own buses and used Solid Dynamics to compress these, using the kick track as a sidechain input. The final touch sonically was an instance of Reactor 6 FX on the master bus using the VHS audio degradation suite from the Reactor user library. I tweaked the initial patch and 90s VHS tape so that it didn't impart too much of an obvious noise over the track. In terms of arrangement, I went for a simple progressive approach, high-passing the kick and bass line in the intro, which allowed me to introduce their high elements before their full weight is felt on the drop. I also automated the filter cutoff frequency of the pad and the filter cutoff frequency and filter envelope amount of the bass to give the piece an evolving feel.